Do women become invisible at a certain age? And if so, when is that? When does that happen? When do you start to become invisible? I wanted to talk about this topic. I was thinking about talking about it. I've spoken about it in the past on my podcast. And the other day, when I put up the video about aging, whether we fight it or embrace it or whatever, one of the commenters, Ida Mae Smith, brought up the topic of feeling invisible. And so I thought that that was a sign to talk about it, since I was thinking about talking about it. I remember as a younger woman in my like early to mid 30s, I had a mentor, older woman, very well accomplished, very impressive leader, executive presence, lots of success, and she was very beautiful. And I remember her talking about the struggle with feeling invisible. I think she had just turned 50 when she was talking about it, and that she had noticed that there was a noticeable difference in how people responded to her or didn't respond to her. And I remembered thinking about that with curiosity and interest, but not fully getting it or understanding, or and not really believing it either, because I knew that she's a, a beautiful woman with a strong presence, and I can't imagine her walking into any place and not be immediately seen. But I don't think I expressed those thoughts. I think that's what I was thinking when she was sharing this experience. And by the way, I'm gonna pause here. My name is Amy Palmer. I am your GenX Big Sister. I would be remiss to not mention that I have something really, really special coming up on March 7th that I have designed particularly for the subscribers of this channel. And I'm calling it the Permission to Pause: How to Design Your Pretirement. If you're here, chances are most of you came here through one of my pretirement videos. If you came some other way, look up some of my pretirement videos that I posted towards the end of January. And it's all about this phenomenon that so many of us are going through, where we're just rethinking where we are in our life right now because we just feel done. We just feel done and over it at the moment. And so I've put together a workshop that's going to share the framework that I used. How did I design a pretirement life that I am absolutely in love with and feeling joyful about, while still preparing for hopefully retiring in some way, whatever that ends up looking like, down the road. All right, so then I wanted to pause and share that. I'm not talking about it enough, and I need to make sure that you as subscribers know about this coming event. So getting back to the subject of invisibility, as contrasted with visibility. When I was a young woman, I was very conscious or self-conscious of being visible to people out in the world, and particularly the opposite sex. And it often did not feel good. When I was living in New York City, my roommates at the time and we shot our own little reality TV series that I will like edit and do something with at some point, because we still have the footage for that. But we were having this conversation about this phenomenon that we had, where we would walk down the street on any given day, and we were constantly bombarded with harassing comments from men on the street in a variety of ways at a variety of times, and how that made us feel about ourselves. 2 out of the 3 of us were really bothered by it, and it was real like I remember like at the time when I was expressing how I felt violated. It felt like a violation all the time that they would just interrupt my day by just saying whatever they wanted to me in whatever way they wanted. One of my roommates didn't. She was able to just let it, you know, go, just roll off her shoulders or whatever, and not paying attention to it, which I couldn't relate to at that time. So there was an issue with like not being visible. But then there were also, as a young woman, especially as like a young, vital, attractive young woman, out in public, there was a lot of positive experience with being seen and being noticed. And I mean, I liked the attention it got me when I would, go to bars, go to different activities, and it led to, meeting men and meeting people. It meant getting waited on quickly. When if you're at a bar, getting drinks quickly, like that visibility, that being noticed. I remember noticing in my 30s, I think it was my early 30s, when I changed the color of my hair. I had just gone through some trauma, relationship trauma, and colored my hair dark auburn red. And even that change, I liked it. It was fun, but it wasn't really me. But even that change of not having the bright blonde hair, my hair is a little darker blonde now, but I went from like platinum blonde to this dark red. I noticed a change in getting noticed when I would be in public. Less eyeballs in my direction, less eye for whatever reason. I don't know if it was the brightness of the hair that was more noticeable, or if the whole I don't know what it was. At the time I accounted it to my hair, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the feeling. I didn't like the feeling of not standing out, feeling like I didn't stand out, feel like I didn't wasn't seen. So being visible was a benefit. And then hearing these warnings from older women saying, hey, it's gonna, it goes away. And and having like mixed feelings about that all over the place, and then having it start to happen, and not just from men, but from men and women. And I think it started in my late 40s. If I had to put an age on it, I think it was my late 40s. I would walk into an establishment, and it would take a noticeable amount of longer time to get acknowledged. And if I went to a restaurant and I'm standing at the hostess stand, I'd be standing there and standing there and standing there, and it would take a while. Forget getting a drink at the bar. It took, I mean, I would like, you have to like, I used to just, make some eye contact very quickly, and they'd come over. Now hey, over with your money, like take your money, your credit card, like wave it around. I noticed that changing, and it sucked. It was an icky feeling. Fast forward to when I launched my podcast a few years ago. I interviewed the author Akiko Busch. She had written a book, um, and that, and then some articles, and did TEDx talks and around this topic of invisibility. And she framed it as somewhat of a superpower and a fabulous benefit that happens for women as we age. And I wasn't quite ready for that framing, or quite ready to believe that, but I was open at that point. Like I was open, and I had a lot of respect for her, and I read the book, and it made sense what she was saying. And and as a result of that, in the last couple of years, as I've just cared less about my physical appearance and have focused more on the to day living and one-to-one connection and connecting with people and doing things on my own, it it's actually I've actually started to enjoy it also, because if you're invisible, if you're less visible, you really don't need to worry about what you look like, right? I mean, you can move in the world however you want. And there's also some safety to that. Feel less I feel less in danger out in the world when it comes to men as I did when I was younger, attractive, vibrant young woman. And I feel like statistically it's less likely that I would be a target. I don't I don't know the truth of that, but in certain ways, but I feel less vulnerable because of this new invisibility where I don't stand out. I don't have all eyes on me. I don't have to, I'm not worried about harassing statements being made as I walk down the street. There's some freedom in that. And when when I'm traveling solo, even like when I traveled to Thailand and I was filled with anxiety, there still was a sense of comfort. And I felt a certain amount of comfort of being this middle-aged white woman. Like I felt a certain level of safety, that I wasn't noticed, that I was under the radar as I would, travel and go through the airport and go to different places. And there, it has felt like a little layer of security as well. So really interesting. And like, as I mentioned, flip flopping all kinds of different thoughts about it and different experiences of how I experience this phenomenon. I'd love to hear from you. Do you deal with this? Do you, is it good? Is it bad? What are your thoughts? Love to hear. And if you are one of my Gen X sisters who are thinking about these topics, and you're thinking about this season of life and you're ready to design your pre-retirement, I hope I see you on March 7th. I've put the information to reserve a seat in the show notes here. So I look forward to seeing you. Again, this is Amy. I am your Gen X Big Sister, signing out.